Hi class, this is Ms. Best. This video is on complex numbers. It's really just going to be an introduction to complex numbers. So we're going to do some vocabulary. I'm going to title this page Complex Numbers Vocabulary. And if you're wondering, in my notebook, I'm on page 22. Okay, but remember what I said is important is that all of your pages are numbered and labeled, and that it corresponds with your table of contents. If you get off the same page as I am, it's okay. Alright, so to do this vocabulary, the first set of words, we're going to make a big table. So I took my paper and I folded it hot dog style so I can make sure I got right in the middle of the page. And then I'm going to skip about 8 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and I'm going to draw a line on that line. And then I'm going to use the fold in the middle of the page to draw my vertical line. Alright, so there's going to be a word in each quadrant. The first word is the imaginary unit, I. Okay, so as we all know, I is just the square root of -1. We're going to extend that definition, and we're going to do some other powers of I. I squared is equal to -1. I cubed is equal to I times I squared. Okay, we know that I squared is -1, so that makes I cubed equal to -I. Okay? Alright, I to the 4th, that's the same as I squared times I squared. Again, we know I squared is equal to -1, so -1 times -1 is a positive 1. Okay, and we're going to stop right there for the powers, because after that the powers just start repeating themselves, like I to the 5th, I to the 6th, they start repeating I and I squared. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and write I to the 5th so you can see how it repeats. So I to the 5th is going to be equal to I times I to the 4th, okay, which would be I to the 4th is 1, and I we'll just say I, so I to the 5th is I. Okay, and then I to the 6th would be I squared times I to the 4th. Okay, we know that I squared is -1, and we know I to the 4th is 1. Okay, so 1 times -1 is -1. So as you can see, they started repeating themselves. So here's I, and then I to the 5th is also I. Okay, I squared is -1, and then I to the 6th is also -1. Okay, so they'll just keep repeating themselves like that. The next word is going to be complex conjugates. No, I'm sorry, complex numbers. Okay, in parentheses, I'm going to write imaginary numbers because they are the same thing. Okay, an imaginary number is just A plus BI, where A and B are real numbers. Okay, an example of an imaginary number or a complex number is 1 plus 2i. Okay, 1 and 2 are real numbers, and I is the imaginary unit. Okay, the next word is pure imaginary numbers. Okay, a pure imaginary number is just an imaginary number with no a value. Okay, so there is no a. An example of this would be 2i, negative 4i, 0.7i, anything without the a value. Okay, the next word is complex conjugate. And conjugates come in handy when you are doing operations with complex numbers, which we'll be getting to that next. Conjugates and the powers of I come in handy when you're doing operations. All right, so the conjugate of A plus BI is A minus BI. Notice that nothing changed but the sign in the middle. The plus sign changed to a minus sign. So an example of this would be, okay, we're going to say find the conjugate of negative 4 plus 7i. Okay, the conjugate would be negative 4 minus 7i. Nothing else changes but the addition sign. The addition sign changed to subtraction. And if it was subtraction, it would change to addition. Okay? Alright, so now we're going to go to an empty space. Okay, and we're going to make a Freyer model here for the complex plane. So I'm going to go down about 6 lines. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll go down about 4 lines to write complex plane. Draw my little cloud and make 4 quadrants. Alright, so as you guys know, the first space is for definition. So the complex plane is a coordinate plane where the point AB represents A plus BI. Okay, now let's write some characteristics. Characteristics of the complex plane. Your normal XY point is now AB. Your normal x-axis is now the real axis. And the y-axis is now imaginary. The imaginary axis. Alright, so for an example of this, I'm going to draw a complex plane. Alright, this would be, the x-axis is now the A. Okay, so the horizontal line is your A-axis, and the vertical axis is now the B. Okay. So x-axis is the A or the real axis, and the vertical, the y-axis is now the imaginary axis. Alright, so we're going to plot the imaginary number negative 1 plus 2i. So as an ordered pair, that would just be negative 1 and 2. Alright, so I'm going to go to the left 1 space for negative 1, and then I'm going to go up 2 spaces, okay, for 2i. This would be I, this would be 2i. Alright, so this represents the point -1 plus 2i. Alright, and then finally for a non-example, okay, that would just be like a normal XY coordinate plane. Okay, this is normal because it has an X and a Y axis. A complex plane has a real and an imaginary axis. Okay. Alright, well that is it for this video. If you guys have any questions, post them on Edmodo, and if you need to rewatch it, you can go ahead and do so. Alright, see you tomorrow. Bye.